We're rolling. Timer starts now. Mark. Hi, I'm Ford.
And I'm Sky. And these are not our real names. These are our superhero names, and with our powers combined, we formed the writing partnership L. Skyford. Welcome to Booklandia.
Today, we're going to review a book, most likely a romance. But before we get much further, did you know you can watch our faces do this episode by subscribing to us on Twitch at L. Skyford or YouTube at L.Skyford? You should really do it. We give good face.
And sometimes there's a dog bomb at Ford's house.
This is true. For our other socials, you can follow us on Twitter at SkyfordL, on Instagram at L.Skyford. And if you're interested in our book, blog, or even more book reviews, head over to our website, lskyford.com.
Lastly, this and every episode are chock full of oversharing and spoilers, and every episode is rated E for explicit. You have been warned.
Hi.
Hi.
Feels like long time no see.
I agree. It does feel like long time no see. Yeah, how are you?
I'm there. And by there, I mean I'm here.
I'm so glad that you are here and there. Here and there. Today we are talking about the Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. But before we get to that, let's continue this check-in we've already started.
I can't ever do an intro. I don't know if you've noticed this about me. I want to check in and then just get to the book part.
That's fine
so
too.
This
we
is
can do that.
That's something I'm working on.
All right. It's good. It's good to have goals to improve.
It's good to have goals. Exactly.
Good.
How are you?
Goals. I am fine. I was trying to think of what to say during the check-in, and I am fine.
I am fine.
I am fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I'm slammed at work, and so that's a thing, and it's a thing for everyone, so I'm here.
Yes, that's precisely it. Like, yeah, stuff is happening, but none of it is so out of the ordinary that it requires commentary.
Yes, excellent. I guess I could say, and I told you this already, but I've bought shirts from the men's and boys section of Target this week. Very exciting. I'm not a shopper person, and so I just wear whatever. And now I'm like, let's see what the men's section has to give me. And they got some cute stuff. The boys section, though, has dinosaur shirts. So I got one of those.
I mean, I can see the benefits of that already.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like a good dinosaur
and if you
shirt.
didn't believe vanity sizing didn't exist, I'm a small in men's, I'm an extra large in boys, and then I'm an extra small in women's. Vanity sizing, it's real.
Yes, it absolutely is. And then it like changes depending on what country you're in, and sizing is a whole thing that I can talk about a lot, and why.
Oh, I bet you could.
And also why.
Also why. Yep.
And yeah, why is it not just our measurements, and would that not be easier?
Exactly. So much, all the things.
Well, should we talk
Yes.
about this book? So we're talking about the Soulmate Equation, the newest Christina Lauren book, which came out on May 18th, and it took me 12 hours. And I don't mean like I read for 12 solid hours. I mean,
okay,
like,
I was about to be like, are you broken?
No. From the time I started to read it to the time I finished it, with like life around the reading, 12 hours total. So it's a very quick read.
It is a quickie. I feel like my start to finish was also pretty quick, and most of it in one chunk, like 4 hours in one chunk. Look at it. Look how pretty.
Yeah, let's talk about this cover for a second. So there was actually the same cover but in different colors originally, and then it changed to this. Like they swapped the colors. It used to be so. No,
I have information.
Oh.
One is the hardback, and one is, I believe, is the paperback.
And is
one is the European cover and one is the American cover. I can't remember.
So for those of you listening and not watching, it's a yellow book cover with a magenta double helix rotating in the center of it, and the double helix makes a heart shape in between the author names and the title of the book. And the other cover I've seen is a magenta cover with a yellow double helix on it.
Hold on, wait, before you take that away, can you bring that back?
Yeah.
I want to point out, very, very tiny in the corner, it says emotional, sweet, and surprising from Shondaland. How do I get the job just writing blurbs for Shondaland?
I am not sure.
I could do that.
You could do it. You can do it. You can be the blurb person for Shondaland.
Yeah, if anyone is listening from Shondaland, let me read books for you.
Yes, that would be an excellent job. I agree.
Pay me to read your books. Read other people's books. I'm here. I'm available.
There you go. Okay, so should we tell the lovely listeners out there what the book is about?
I mean, I guess so if you want to.
Do you want me to read it, or do you want to read it?
I think I read. Did I read last time? We should really start keeping track. Okay, then I think you should do it. You should do it. Okay, for sure.
All right.
Well, I'll let you I'll give you your 10-second marks and things.
Okay. I am ready. Jess is a single mom of a 7-year-old who, on a whim, submits her DNA to a matchmaking service claiming to find her soulmate using genetics. Not only does she find a 98% match, but it's the unapproachable lead scientist for DNA Duo whose entire company is on the line if the science is wrong. Can they make it work? Do they owe it to themselves to see if genetics is really the way to find a soulmate?
Oh!
There's a bunch of time.
So much time!
So much time.
Meow.
So I realized while I was reading this that it sounded like the 7-year-old submits the DNA sample. And I want to clarify that that's just me writing bad copy and that it is the single mom who submits her DNA sample. Jess is the one who is matched with the lead scientist of DNA Duo, not her 7-year-old. Now I feel
though one of the tangential things they say that this made-up DNA service could do would be to like pair caregivers for ailing parents or help build a team for a job. It could be used for a kid to find a suitable step parent. Technically in this world.
Theoretically in this world, yes.
Theoretically, yeah.
So I'm going to jump right into my questions because it leads really well into what you started. And so one of the things that this pseudoscience in this book implies is that we are genetically intended for someone, that there is a way to connect genetic markers between people to find their perfect match. And they do mention that there is some environmental, there is some social, and there is some free will
cultural
that's built in. There's some cultural that's built in that we as people get to choose. But statistically, the genetics are the way that we are meant to find soulmates.
Now, they do say there's some other like questionnaires, like psychological, the regular sort of matchmaking questionnaires involved. We just don't see that side of it.
That's true. They do talk about the fact that you also fill out what has become the standard in matchmaking services. You fill out the neuroanalysis questionnaire, is I believe what they call it. So, but here is my question. So do you think that the book really talked enough about essentially the nurture versus nature right? Like the whole the entire discussion here is whether or not we are scientifically predestined to find someone. And if you can, just by looking at the numbers without looking at the person at all, figure out, not that looking at someone is the way that you determine whether or not you're going to be with them. Well, sometimes it is, but
it's part of it.
It's part of it. But right. So my point is like, so there is Fizzy, who's the best friend, and Fizzy finds a partner not through the matchmaking service, and feels very compatible with that partner. We never find out about Jess's grandparents in terms of whether or not they're genetically compatible, and I feel like there would have been a really cool thing there if we found out that they were genetically not compatible, but we know for a fact that they have this super strong relationship that's lasted for 40. Anyways, I did not think that enough time for me was devoted to the discussion of nurture versus nature, or how much nurture was being taken into account by, and I realize this is pseudoscience, so my gripe is sort of non-existent, but did you lean into the science? Did you believe in it as much as they believe in it? Because they essentially, they like fall forward on it, if you will.
They're fictional characters and this is fictional science. So no, but I kept thinking of, you know, one of the opening scenes in 101 Dalmatians, when all of the owners are walking their dogs to the park and all of the dogs and the owners look the same.
Yes.
For some reason, I kept thinking about that scene. And then there's somewhere in the crazy like reaches of my mind, somebody said, you know, eventually couples who live together for a long time start to look the same. And as my husband and I now have the exact same haircut, can confirm, it's happening. It's real. I thought about that a lot, about how environment does affect the person. So even if Jess's grandparents had gone in for the testing, just like the other diamond couple, the Fuchs, who were the 93%, they had already been together for so long, the science would say they're compatible. But Jess and River have no whatever, and the science said that they were compatible. So I have some science questions, just like how do science. But and then I was also thinking about, and I need your confirmation on this. They talked about how some ethnicities and religions don't show up on a genetic test, but I feel like I remember that some Jewish, like you can take a genetic test and not know anything about the person, and genetics will say that person is a certain kind of Jew. So, oh hey, I didn't want to call you out on a public thing, being like,
no, it's that's fine.
That way.
That's fine. I mean, this is how I would know this, right? So yes, the genetic test I took definitely identified the markers in my double helix as being a particular type of Jew. So, but then this sort of gets into whether or not Jewish people are a race or a religion. So it's not right.
Sure, right.
So when we say that, like, I have Jewish genetic markers, that's not necessarily saying that I am a practicing Jew. It's to say that those genetic markers exist. So,
right, and people who share those genetic markers were Jewish.
Yes,
it's maybe more of an ethnicity thing.
Right. Thank you. That's the word probably that's most accurate. Yes, is that it's an ethnicity, not right. It's an ethnicity, not a religious upbringing by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, that exists. But there isn't a genetic marker for a Christian person or a Muslim person or a Wiccan person. Like that isn't the case that I am aware of. But I'm also not a geneticist, so let's remember that.
True. So I guess to answer your question, I like genetics. I think it's interesting. I am currently the person who would never submit their DNA to a genealogy site. Like I have some very strong feelings about who should be allowed my genetic material. It's a privacy thing. I have weird privacy things. I also don't want, you know, Thomas Q to come being like, we're 8th cousins. I don't care, Thomas Q. Fuck off.
Okay, yes.
I don't care. Helpful. Like I learn more about me. I have genealogy charts already. I know, which European countries I'm from, and that's what I need to know. I don't. It's fine. I don't need strangers with my spit. Uploading it to the internet. It's too much. It's too much. Science.
That's
Would you
totally
do that?
fine.
Have you done that?
I have not done that. My family kept pretty consistent records, so I don't have a lot of questions.
Right. You don't need,
So
but I understand people need that. Some people need that. Absolutely. Just not for me. And they're catching killers that way. But,
yes, they are.
and I love that part. I just don't want any part of that part. Go away, JSTOR. All right. Too long. Too much time ranting about genetics. My question in regards to this book is when Jess is a statistician. She loves the math, which I think that also answers your question of why the characters leaned into the science. One invented it and the other loves numbers. They're both science brained. Good grief, science brain. All right.
Science brain. I like it.
So after she submits her thing, they do the match and then they just mysteriously text her and be like, "We need you to come in." And so she's like, why? And she's like, just do it, just show up. And so like they come in, she comes into a conference room full of people, basically everyone who works at that company, and they reveal that she is matched with River, who is the CSO of the company at the time. And like in front of everybody, this is their meet cute. Yes. And then like she sets her boundaries, she GTFOs and sets more boundaries, and they pursue her. Like one of them shows up at her house without her address. And then they're like, just come to dinner. We'll talk about it. It'll be fine. And then everybody's at this fucking dinner. I'm sorry. I would have that's not okay. That's not okay boundaries. And it bothered me the whole book. So, a lot of non-consensual tomfuckery happening. Like so much like public pressure to do things, and they like kept making it cute. She kept saying, "No, it's fine, I'm okay," and I'm just like, "Bitch, no, not okay, not fine. Stop letting men get away with this bullshit." How do you feel? How did you feel about these moments and being pressured publicly into doing stuff?
So I feel like there's starting particularly with the with the first thing in the conference room, what was missing for me wasn't to explain why they did what they did. What was missing for me are the stakes on River's side. So I didn't understand whether or not River runs away from girlfriends, or like River, like they think that if they reveal this information it's going to blow up their company in the bad way, and River is a total grouch and he doesn't leave the lab, and this is the only way they could get him into the room, or whatever it might be. Like whatever the previous River history is, it wasn't there. And so it did feel really invasive because it was just her being like thrust into the situation, and it felt a little bit like Pretty Woman, except it wasn't, because she didn't choose to be in the room, right? In Pretty Woman, she chooses to be in the room. She's in control of the situation at all times, and in this, she sort of wasn't some of the time. I mean, she did choose to show up for some of these events.
And she got to leave basically unaccosted, lightly accosted.
Lightly accosted. So I feel like I needed a lot more backstory on him, because this really to me felt like Jess's book with some River in it. And some of Christina Lauren's books really feel like we get both sides of the story, and this didn't. He was her love interest, but he was not a main character side by side with her for me. And so that's what was missing for me from all of these interactions, right? Like when they're forced into their first kiss by the public, the stakes aren't high enough for me for me to be like, yeah, we should do this in front of all these people. But the stakes are high enough for them, and we were just not let in on what those stakes are. And I
Right.
think that's actually my comment on the entire book, that the stakes were not high enough for
Yeah.
me to really
Yeah.
lean into everything that they're doing. And I think the
Mhm.
individual moments get cute, but the
Mhm.
collective just wasn't, like I kept being like, but what if they don't? Like what would happen if they didn't? And we were never really let in on that. And then the
Mhm.
resolution at the end of the entire book, about their business and the restructuring of their business, all happens off page, and she's not
Mhm.
involved in any of it. And we can get into how that's not a thing that should ever happen in a partnership, but it too is all high stakes, but off page. And so
Right.
to answer your question, I would probably feel better about these interactions if I knew why they mattered.
Yeah. During that public kiss thing, Leah as Jess was like, middle fingers to the air. I'm not fucking kissing someone in public as your performative monkey. Go fuck off. Like,
It
I said no way more often than Jess did.
Right. But like if you understood, like if the stakes were as high for you as they were for these characters, which it was something that we were not downloaded into our
Mm-hmm.
brains, maybe you would have been like, okay, he's cute. This is a thing. Let's just do it. But that didn't happen.
I don't. So if you'll remember at my wedding, it was a glass clinking moment in the book, and that's a thing that happens at weddings. At mine, I was like, we are not doing that at my wedding. I think I just also hate that construct of let's make people kiss by clinking. I just
It is
feels.
aggressively weird. Yes, I agree. The like, we think it's time for you to make out is very
Mm-hmm.
aggressive in a
In
way that
front of all of
in
us so
front
we
of
can
us,
judge you for it.
it's gonna be oh so cute. Yeah, I agree. That does
So
that
many
work out
middle
for me?
fingers.
Okay,
My
let's
God.
talk about Fizzy. I have
Okay, great.
very strong feelings about Fizzy. So Fizzy is
I'm
the
so
best
excited.
friend, Jess's best friend. Her actual name is Felicity. She goes by Fizzy.
Love
She
it.
writes romance novels for a living, and I think that's great. And I like that it was a tiny nod to the authors of the book in the
Mm-hmm.
first place. But she felt like a 2000s like cutout of a friend. She was a meme generator. She starts
Mm-hmm.
out by saying things like, that ass isn't gonna hold up itself, and time is running out. Like, who says time is running out to their best friend? Running out
Mm-hmm.
on what? Why? I have so many words I can't even finish a sentence on this. If you are a best friend, truly, it is probably your job to stand at the gates of bullshit and defend your friend as opposed to be the gates of bullshit. Right?
The gatekeeper of bullshit is here.
I
Yes,
mean,
you're yes. Like as a friend, sometimes you got to motivate. Sometimes, but never is the time to be like, "Girl, your ass is sinking."
right?
Like the Titanic.
Unless like it's a medical thing and you should go see someone, and even
Right.
then, those are not the words. So
Right.
she felt like
Yeah.
I kept expecting a laugh track and audience applause every time she
Mm-hmm.
spoke. Even her interaction with Rob, when it comes to an end, she dumps cold water in his lap in an extremely cartoonish way.
Yes.
So
It, she is that family's babysitter. Like she literally babysits Juno, the 7-year-old, and then she also babysits Jess. And it's just like, you need to go have fun and excitement. Come on, let's hold hands and do it.
and I mean, I wouldn't mind that. As you said, best friends get to be motivators sometimes. But she
Sure.
just felt like a sitcom side character to me, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know if it was, I don't know, my bitterness at the way she's behaving, or if she truly was that cartoony, like that over the top
Mm-hmm.
and with a laugh track type of stuff.
Yeah, and I can't really pinpoint what would have grounded her more. Not sure. Yeah, excellent point. Very early on in the book, when we meet Dr. River Pena, Dr. River Nicholas Pena, They have a whole conversation about how Dr. River Pena is a hot guy name. Do you agree?
I mean, River does bring up River Phoenix, I guess, as one of the most famous
Hot guy.
rivers out there. Hot guy. So I'm gonna go with sure. I really preferred Americana phlebotomist. And she puts him in her
Yes.
phone as Americana phlebotomist, and it never comes up again. And it was one of the best parts. I was like, this is hilarious. Please tell me it's gonna come back, and it doesn't. So
Even in the text messages, he should have been as American, but it wasn't. The text tag didn't. You're right. Very good. So, but it also can't spell phlebotomist, so good on her. Excellent.
Yeah, right. As like putting in someone into your phone. Yeah, so I think Americana phlebotomist is really sexy. I have weird needs. It's okay. I'm totally fine with it.
Cool. I think Dr. River Pena is a dumb name. I concur that River is hot. River Pena, not hot. Cannot get down on that. So that's my hot take.
All right.
Goodbye.
There we go.
I'm just kidding. We have the rest of the episode to go.
It's absolutely fine. The next thing I want to talk about, sorry, I'm here to tear all these characters down. Apparently, that's my job on this episode. Just being like, no to this and no to that. So I want to bring up Juno, the 7-year-old. She has no flaws. She's this 7-year-old that is just magically the most wonderful 7-year-old on the planet. And before I even ask my question, but I think my question is actually the thing I'm about to rant. So she's not the first perfect kid of a single parent in a romance novel. And I feel like whether or not a single parent is successful at being a good parent is measured by how perfect their kid is. And firstly, on behalf of parents, I'm just going to validate all of you for parenting a kid who throws tantrums and a kid who doesn't know what they want and a kid who does not build roller coasters at 7 or order their own art supplies at 7, because that's okay too. That doesn't make you a bad parent. That's not how it works. All right, so box done on behalf of parents, just stepping off that. But do you think that that's what it is? That Juno is so perfect as a signifier of Jess's success as a single parent, and if she had flaws, if she had emotional needs that she was expressing in not the most like chill ways, we would judge Jess for it? Is that what it is? Is that why we need to write perfect children?
This is the deepest question I feel like I've ever been asked in the history of interviewing. I don't know how to answer this question very clearly. I was raised by a single mother, and I remember being a pretty good kid, but I also did have a full-on meltdown in Target because I couldn't get a Tamagotchi. So, like, my memory of being a kid, I was pretty good, and I saw all of Jess's struggles with Juno to be normal kid, everyday external struggles. Like, come on, we got to get out the door. Okay, now the cat spilled the cereal. Like, not intentional children drama. So I think, and I have no business saying this, so slap me later for it. Having watched you parent, you do, I think, quantify yourself in how your children are doing. I think every parent does that.
That's true. So, that's absolutely true.
So I think, yes, I think other parents might judge Jess based on how her child is or reacts. And so they have to write a perfect parent, so we can't use that against Jess. So we still have Jess, we can still support her? I don't know, and every word is a minefield.
I mean, I feel like I do agree that when my kids do well at like in a social setting, with other kids or with adults, I get really excited and I get really proud. And I do think that it reflects on the hours we've spent talking about it, that they're mimicking, in part, that they're mimicking my behaviors, and those behaviors don't seem to be bad. So joy on that front. But I also feel like kids are kids, and sometimes kid emotions take over, and there is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing, in fact, it showcases a really stabilized, I don't mean stable in any sort of like mental health way, but I mean a very well-informed parent. If you can handle your kid at their best, but you also know what your kid needs at their worst. So having a realistic 7-year-old wouldn't have made me any less excited to meet this 7-year-old or to meet the mother of the 7-year-old. The fact that she was this like cookie cutter, like she was literally a cookie of a kid, I was like, cool. So that's unrealistic on every level.
So it makes me wonder, I think about the moment where River goes to pick Juno up from school, and she implies that she and her two best friends had drama. And then Jess never hears that drama, like it's over and done with because Kidland is short, has a short circuit, a short fuse. Did River see the kid meltdown, or the kid emotions even? And because this is a single POV book, we don't get that.
Maybe. And as the
I don't know.
reader, I just wanted more dimensionality out of her, and you will hear me say that a lot actually about this book. I just wanted more, and it wasn't there.
Because this book was so short, I think there could have been more fleshing out. It also reads to me like Christina Lauren being two people, the writers are two people, for those of you who don't know, they wrote these in quarantine, so they usually write together. This feels like they wrote apart, like there is distance, there's air in this book.
Yes, I think so too.
My question is very easy. What the fuck is art tape?
Oh, very easy
answer. I know so many. Is it spike tape? Is it Marley tape? Is it gaff tape? Is it duct tape? No. Is it, okay, is it that washi tape?
It is. It's washi tape, but washi is a brand name, so they couldn't say that, so it's art tape. And what I have to say about it is that washi tape does not structurally hold anything. You shouldn't be ordering that in the first place. But that's what happens when a 7-year-old buys stuff.
But so I'm really glad they ended up making that roller coaster out of popsicle sticks instead of art tape, washi tape, because that stuff is tissue paper.
Yes, it's very pretty, but it's very decorative. It's not meant to be structurally sound. I love that this is something that like snagged your attention.
Barely. I know, it's barely adhesive. It's
barely adhesive. Yes, there are other options. I'm glad they figured it out. All right.
Look, my professional demeanor was affected by the fact that there was a tape I did not know about.
I totally get it. On this really hot topic of art tape adhesive structure, let's take a short break and we'll be right back.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to take an intermission right here. When we come back, we're going to break down our favorite moment from the book.
And discuss our ratings and if this book made us want to get naked.
Please enjoy this message from one of our friends in the podcasting world. Hi.
Please explain to the people who are not watching this episode what is happening.
I just have a piece of scotch tape on my face.
Of course.
That's all. Because I don't have any washi tape to decorate myself with.
Okay,
I'm not one of those fancy people who buys art tape on the internet. I'm not a 7-year-old, Yelena.
Yeah.
So yes, sorry, there's so much taping. Okay. So we're back, and we're talking about Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren, and it's time for our compelling moments.
Yes, it is. Okay, so I actually found a really compelling moment in this, and like I said, I think a lot of the smaller moments were really cute and really great. It just like the whole structure didn't work out for me, but the most compelling moment to me was during their first sex scene. Mid coitus, he says, he says, "I'm shaking and I'm sorry and I don't know why I'm shaking." And that was such a vulnerable and lovely moment. They skate past it really quickly, but it was such a great, like in the moment, it was such a fantastic little spot of like his vulnerability and need, and it made the top of my list.
Look, those sex scenes were so outlined, shall we say. Yes. I didn't even know they were mid-coitus during that moment. I thought we hadn't had penetration yet. That was immediately after. I'm like, wait, is she going down on him? I can't tell. So
I had that moment, yes. That, and then I read someone's review of this book, and they said that the sex scenes are not explicit so much as they are poetic. And I was like, yes, I was poetically unclear as to the geography of her mouth versus his dick. Yes, that is exactly what was happening. Yes.
I was talking to Finn last night, and I was like, all three parties should know when a BJ is happening. And he goes, huh? And then he figured it out. The giver, the receiver, and the reader.
Yes. Yes. That was I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I think somewhere where she says, "I've never felt this much power," I was like, oh, okay, she's topping from the bottom. I get that. But we can like use those words. Or any words would be good. More words would be good. But that moment, like wrapped up in itself, outside of the context of the rest of the book, was a really gentle, touching moment of
they
emotional
were
availability.
Very gentle.
They were very gentle.
Yeah,
very gentle.
That was very so much. Okay, you're right. I liked that moment as well. Mine was that Jess was kind of a constant. She was always juggling it all: her life, her friendship, her child and her child care, her family, and then she added in this whole situation with River. And she generally succeeds at it. And when she's not able to perform at her full percentage, she does not crumble under the fact that she has to ask other people for help. Like, her support system couldn't help her, and she was like, I guess I'm calling River. He calls her, like, perfect timing, but like, it doesn't, she rolled with the punches, and I really liked that about her. I resemble that about her, and that was excellent. I still have problems with the fact that River lives 30 minutes away, but makes it to the coffee shop at the exact same time every day and lives in San Diego. I'm like, bitch, there's traffic. That would never happen. Is he like standing out at his car like, oh, it's 8:23, better walk in? It makes no sense.
I agree. It makes very little sense that this is the when all of this is happening. And then what doesn't really make sense to me is, so he goes to this coffee shop, but then his work is 30 minutes away from the coffee shop. So is the coffee shop then near his house? And if that's the case, then his house and her house should be near each other.
Right. But they're not.
Because
she goes to his house for the floor sex shaking thing. Like,
yes.
I had geography issues. I don't know San Diego, but I had geography issues.
I also had geography issues. I agree.
Yeah. So much.
All right.
So that's it. I love that she was good with the schedule. I'm hot for someone good with a schedule.
Yes, she was good with a schedule. All right, hot take.
Hot take.
Book. Overall.
Yes. Overall. I think we kind of covered it. There was some weird emotional distance between the reader and the content. Like, I never got sucked in. I needed more. I still really liked it. Can we call this a science fiction romance?
Ooh. I mean, the science is fictional, so yeah, maybe, maybe. I can see that.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I needed more depth, and all of the characters needed more dimensionality. I needed to know there were these tiny glimpses, and I feel like the person that I really resonated with was River, and I wanted River to be a main character, and he wasn't. And I have major issues with the black moment and the resolution of the black moment and all of that, and the fact that so much of it happens off page, and he just says, I gotta go and I gotta take care of stuff, and then he comes back and is like, I've taken care of stuff, won't you forgive me? No.
Yeah.
No. All of that
Yeah.
was just so weirdly off page. Everything was off page. All the emotions were off page. All the backstory was off page. And yeah, I needed more, and it wasn't there. It did nod to early Christina Lauren insofar as it was set in San Diego. And if you read the acknowledgement, you know that I want to say Lauren of the Christina Lauren based the apartment building and Pop and Joe on her aunt and uncle. So there's like a super lovely nod in that. But
that's cute.
More, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. So, did this book make you want to get naked?
Yes. Yeah. Though the sex scenes are
You're
few.
into poetic. You're into poetic fucking.
I mean, I'm not. You know what?
I'm
Sure.
not into poetic fucking.
Right, exactly. I'm not into poetic fucking. Would I like more details? Yes. Can I infer them because an adult that's maybe experienced those things? Also yes. And I think that's really what it is. Like, I inferred the details, and not bad if you fill in the gaps. So it worked for me, but maybe more words next time would be great. How about you?
Also, yes, sexy scientist. I love a nerd. I will say it every time. Bring me the nerds. But the sex scenes were not for like whatever. They were whatever. My Pisces imagination was far steamier. What come into my mind? The sex scenes are very elaborate. So yeah, the book, to use another like Bookstagrammer's quote, gave me bangxiety because I was 60% in and they had been holding hands and I was not okay with it. So I was really worried they weren't going to bang it out. They did. It was what it was. Yes. So bangxiety, everyone.
Bangxiety. I mean, I do absolutely. There's a difference between, like, there's a slow burn book out there. There are slow burn books out there, and some of them crafted really spectacularly where you like enjoy the prolonged anxiety, and sometimes you're like, my brain is already on you two doing it. Why aren't you? And or you three or you however many are involved in the doing it.
Right.
Why aren't you?
Yeah.
So
yes. Yeah. That is all. And scene.
Yeah. I mean, that's really it. Christina Lauren are obviously still queens in the genre, and will continue to write these exceptional characters or characters that have really fun science fiction stories. I appreciated that. Right. So the big shout out here is the fact that they're both in STEM, but that she is an independent contractor who works in STEM, who's a statistician, and who loves being a statistician. Like, she's not a statistician because someone told her that job is going to make her more money. She's actually like nerdy for numbers. And I did like that very much. And I think that she's nerdy for numbers. Is that the bit that's making you chuckle?
Yeah, of course. I love a good alliteration.
There you go. So that is a joy. But I kind of I just made me wonder if this is a beginning of a series and there will be more meat on these characters as they move forward, because there's a lot of opportunity. There's the cast of characters is large enough to where there's an opportunity to keep writing in this universe. I don't think they will be, but it's the thing.
Here's my way out there prediction. Next book, if it's a series, will be Fizzy and Rama, the Thai food server. I imagine he's got. I imagine the full like chic beard. Yeah, hot.
Yeah, interesting. That would be would be fun. I would read
that's
that.
That's my out there guess. That's my fan guess.
Well, there we go. Yeah. So there we go.
There we go.
Should we talk a little bit about what's coming up next for us? So
sure, absolutely. What is happening with us?
Well, in the week after this episode is going to be a mini-sode. We're going to talk about another trope. So in case you have not been listening to the mini-sodes, come listen to the mini-sodes. They're way shorter, and I'm always confused. Always. I am always confused about tropes, and you always fill me in.
And we'll give you some recommendations of books that may or may not have those tropes, because I think lots of books do, and then Sky tells me otherwise.
Yes, and we didn't talk about tropes in this book really, but
Single mom.
There is a it's never been this good, and if you've listened to last week's episode, you know that's the trope we talked about and how I feel about it's never been this good, but it's scientifically
it's hate. She hates it. But it's scientifically this good. So
it's scientifically this good this time around. So just so you know. And then what are you reading? Is there anything exciting on your TBR?
Yes.
TBR.
My CBR. Currently be reading. I'm reading Spectre Queen by Jenny Elder Moak. She wrote Hood, which came out last year. Mm-hmm. And Jenny, as the killers say, Jenny is a friend of mine. We went to high school together. So I am so excited to support her and continue buying her books and forcing her to sign them for me, because I feel like that's what high school friends get to do. It's so good. So like I'm 5 chapters in and she burned down a bookstore, and I just texted her being like, you killed all these books. How dare you?
No. I'm a little stressed out now because I was planning on reading that. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And to be clear, Jenny herself did not actually burn down a bookstore. It happens in the book to the character. So, okay.
There you go. Now it's cleared up.
How about you? Fine. What are you reading?
I am reading Neon Gods. And
Katie I don't Roberts?
Thank you. I want to say Caitlin Roberts. This is where I hesitated. Because her first name, I couldn't quite remember. I will look it up. It is so good that I want us to do an episode on it.
Ooh.
It is so good.
You said it was giving you Lore Olympus vibes.
Lore Olympus vibes and Larissa Ione's the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse series.
Excellent.
Yes, but it's about Olympus versus the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, but mythology, modern day, all the consent, all the extremely sexy consent. Yes to all of that. I really want to talk about it at length, and if not on an episode, I'll just friend annoy you with it a lot.
Please and thank you. I appreciate all friend annoyances, book related.
Well, in that case, see if we do an episode on it.
Come back in 2 weeks. Come to our minisode, and then stay next week.
There you go. Come back in 2 weeks to find out if it's going to be Neon Gods. Join our Patreon. Find out early. Oh, look at that. I can tie in a thing.
Oh, man. I should update our Patreon.
You guys, we have a Patreon, and we update it for sure.
Promise. Totally do it.
It was lovely to see you.
You as well. Bon voyage! So are you, dear audience human, gonna pick up this book now that you've heard our review? Let us know in the comments. Have a suggestion for another review? Slide on into our DMs.
If you like this adventure in books or updates on our upcoming projects, please follow, like, save, subscribe, rate, review us on Instagram at l.skyford, on Twitch at lskyford, and on Twitter at skyfordl. Phew. I'm Sky.
And I'm Ford. That's it for this episode. We'll see you next time on Booklandia, where every book is a whole world to explore. And we're out.